I am often asked why I refuse to use an iPhone. Why would I want to subject myself to the inferior option? The cheap garbage, the old, broken, ratty phones. The assumption here is that the iPhone represents the top tier, presumably the apex of what mobile tech is and can be. Outside of the fact that this is horribly assumptive and reductive, it presumes that any and all innovation drips down directly from Apple. From atop the hill cries out the all-knowing, fearless leader, "You don't need a headphone jack. Yes, all-powerful one, you are wise and never faltering." This idea that Apple is the only real phone maker, they know what's best for us. You have to start out with one question. Does this device really matter to you? Does the phone in your pocket matter as little as the color of the laces in your shoes? If the answer is yes, go get an iPhone. There's really nothing more for me to tell you. Because likely you don't care about being respected in this way. Maybe you just need a calling and texting machine. I really can't argue with that. If you don't care, you don't care. The iPhone is peaceful ignorance. It's safe, it's sterile, and it's unfeeling. This device will not bring you new experiences. That's not what it's built for. An iPhone is a rest stop on a long highway drive. There are no surprises here. You stop, you use the facilities, stretch your legs, and you keep going. It's strictly purposeful. It carries no other reason for existing. It is, in the strictest definition, a tool. It's there for you to use to accomplish a set of simple tasks, and that's it. So what's the point of a pink hammer? Do racing stripes make a car go faster? Apple has built you a device that you don't need to change anything about. Apple has created a user that the value of a colorful case is higher than the value of a headphone jack. You're only allowed to change the color of your hammer, nothing else. You don't need to be able to customize. Or if you do, you customize within their preset bumper guards. Here are the 6 fonts you get to use for the home screen clock, and that's it. Apple is saying to you, you don't need to do this. Basically outright. They are directly restricting you from optimizing how you interact with your device. Their methods and mores around the user experience are superior to yours. And I'm not even talking about under the hood things like building your own launcher, designing your own themes, or things that would require you to write your own code. Apple is so sure that their way is the best and only way, you cannot even arrange your icons how you like them. This device isn't your device. You're borrowing their device from them. And the defense that you'll get from someone drinking the Apple Kool-Aid is, well, why would you want to be able to do that? Apple knows best, right? Those features aren't ready for you yet. The iPhone experience, by its very nature, is safe. There are features that aren't ready for you yet. The iPhone is not a place for you to go for new things. Those new things are old things by the time Apple reinvents them as new things. Look at something like the always-on display and how long it took them to implement this feature. It's about making sure the new things are ready for you, and it's inherently infantilizing. You don't need an always-on display until we decide the technology has caught up to make it up to our standards, not yours. The choice to trade some battery life for a very useful feature is ultimately not up to you as the user. Apple has decided that it's not ready for you yet, so you don't get to use it. You don't even get the choice. In the past, back in the early days of iOS, my iPod Touch could not transfer files via Bluetooth. Bluetooth, back in the day, had a protocol called yada 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 jargon. It's how files are handled between devices. The integrated Bluetooth in the iPod 2nd gen had this physical capability, hardware-wise. The wagon should theoretically have had the wheels to move. But Apple couldn't let you into the file structure of iOS. You were completely blocked off from it. You didn't need to get into anything at root level. You might break something. you could only get at the surface level lists of things in apps like music, images, videos, and those were managed by the absolute beached whale that was and still is iTunes. So to allow you to use this protocol and send from your iPod to another device, even another iPod, you weren't allowed to do. You would have had access to the file system and access to this protocol and the ability to manage the files that you were sending and receiving. And yes, the wagon did have the wheels. When I had my old iPod after jailbreaking it, installing a file browser and a Bluetooth transfer app, I was able to send files between my iPod and Windows laptop and other Android devices at the time. But that was the only way it was possible, because Apple decided that's what you get and nothing else. Currently, iOS has a file browser of sorts, a hamstrung one, but one nonetheless. And the AirDrop system is the we made it our way version of Bluetooth file transfer, where you don't actually touch the files for the most part. So this isn't a new thing. Apple has always been this way. They don't trust their users, really at all. So what about modern iOS's Bluetooth system? They can't stop it. They can't leave well enough alone. They snuck in a new feature whereby you can't completely turn off your Bluetooth from the quick settings, or your Wi-Fi for that matter. They purposely hamstrung a feature to make sure Bluetooth was on as much as possible in spite of what you wanted. They turned back on after some amount of hours. As if that wasn't enough, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi also turn back on when you restart the device. As a daily user of Bluetooth headphones, these in particular, this combination of features makes absolutely unnecessary annoyance when trying to move from device to device, because the iPhones will just turn the Bluetooth back on and they'll auto connect to my headset. I can't turn it off unless I go into the settings and turn it off. And why does it have to be this way? Apple will claim that, well, because you will need the Bluetooth on for your AirPods. Well, I don't own AirPods, so I want to be able to turn the Bluetooth off, irrespective of whether I have all parts of your ecosystem or not. I don't like being told that. It's very condescending to me. Because your convenience is second to Apple's desire to keep these antennas on, presumably to prevent you from going completely offline and missing out on ads, or if I were to take my tinfoil hat off, to keep the Find My network alive, to then in turn sell more Apple devices. So far we have a platform that condescends to you, disallowing you to use things how you want, and doesn't trust you to use it how you want to use it. We decide when things are over. Apple has gaslit the world about the removal of the headphone jack for more space, then release a max model that's $1,200 that's bigger than the entire previous model device, making the whole space thing moot. All you have to do is reduce the battery a little bit and put one component back in your device. But you can, however, buy the conveniently timed new product that lets you use wireless headphones instead. I mean, it really is best for the industry, so we think. Where does Apple get off on that? There's no reason to fix your own device. You wouldn't know what you were doing anyway. Let Apple take care of it for you. We will comply with the law, but we will make it more expensive to fix it yourself. Why does Apple get to decide when you no longer need something? Oh, and then the condescension with the ecosystem lock-in. Why have we installed a caste system into our messaging platform choice? So that you can play games in iMessage? Is that really what this is about? Don't we have enough human rights issues in our own world today that Apple needs to cop a superiority complex about messaging? This is utter absurdity to me. And for Tim Cook to unironically stand on stage and condescend to you is just insane. And I quote, "The same day that Apple launched its new iPhone, Tim Cook said that, if you want to be able to text seamlessly with Android-wielding parents, you should buy your mom an iPhone." Adding that I don't hear our users asking that we put a lot of energy on that at this point. These are comments from a conference last year. Just condescension to the max. Buy your mom an iPhone. Like, that's absurd. Absurd. This is that patented one-way door closed ecosystem. And Apple actively ignoring the market that's screaming for RCS support right now. I mean, you've got Google actively pushing Apple to try and get RCS support for the sake of the users. And enabling this superiority complex, because, sell more iPhones. We sell more iPhones if people look down on Android people. Really? It's this kind of arrogant self-righteousness that keeps me from really engaging with the idea of the iPhone. This company doesn't respect me as a user. I'm the infant that tries to stick a fork in a light socket, apparently. I need gated in, I need kept safe. It's just textbook infantilization. It's quite frankly condescending. So this is why I really refuse to be part of this ecosystem. And an ecosystem is really not strong enough. I would call it an authoritarian hellscape with the extreme lack of user choice. We know what's best for you. That's what this whole thing is about. That's what the mentality is behind every decision Apple makes. I want the same control that I have over any other device in my life. I want the dangerous freedom that comes from Android. I want a folding phone. I want to play with new technologies. These are things that I care about. And it makes you have to care. We spend so much time of our lives with this thing in our pockets. This device that connects us to everything. It truly has become foundationally fundamental to our lives. And people treat it like the color of their shoelaces. But I argue where you make compromises in your life can be very revealing. And this is one compromise I'm not willing to make. If you want something that has the potential to really bring new functionality and new experiences and new paradigms, let's talk Android. Because that's where you're going to find it. You're not going to find it on iOS, and you're not going to find it on an iPhone. But as stated, if you don't care about any of these things, go get an iPhone. But at least know what you're getting into. It really is a one-way door. You enter and it is very difficult to leave. And it is that way by design.